Resident Evil is full of terrifying characters like Nemesis and Mr. X. As horror fans, we would love to experience some real-life attractions.
Fortunately, these attractions have already existed. Today, we're exploring the 5 creepiest Resident Evil attractions.
So Will, you're up.
Watch the full video and comment if you want a part 2.
Racoon City, Universal Studios, Japan. Decades of spine-chilling adventures, unforgettable characters, and immersive narratives make the Resident Evil franchise an ever-evolving saga. From its iconic classics to the thrill of recent entries and refreshing remakes, Resident Evil is undeniably one of our favorite video game franchises, although its live-action adaptations have left much to be desired. Speaking of games, we know you've been curious about what your favorite YouTubers, that's us of course, have been recently playing. Well, brace yourselves folks, because we've officially entered true YouTuber territory. We've been sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. We know, it's practically a rite of passage at this point. But guess what? They've got this new animated series, Raid Call of the Arbiter, which is surprisingly good. Just look at this animation. New episodes are dropping every Thursday at 10 a.m. EST until July 20th. You can check this out in the Raid Shadow Legends game itself, totally free. And the series is off to a great start, with over 5 million views of episodes 1 and 2 so far, and thousands of positive comments. People are loving Raid Call of the Arbiter. Raid Shadow Legends continues to celebrate a bunch of Call of the Arbiter related features, with new champions, more lore connected to the series, and a bunch of activities you can still take part in. And just like unlocking secret characters in games, you can snag a free playable legendary champion, Artak, just by logging into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th. If you're new to Raid, we've got your back. Use our link in the description or scan our QR code to get yourself an epic champion Knight Errant and a bunch of other cool bonuses. It's like finding a secret loot box in the first level. So gamers, take a break from blasting zombies and join us in the fantasy world of Raid Shadow Legends. Check out the link in the description and we'll see you in Teleria. Apologies for the interruption. We were saying that while live-action adaptations of the franchise have not been entirely successful or good, Universal Studios has found a way to bring the world of Resident Evil to life, with incredible attractions and experiences that transport fans straight into the heart of the action. One of the most impressive examples of this is the Resident Evil Scare Zone that Universal Studios created in Japan in 2012. The park transformed an entire area of New York City into Racoon City, with incredible projections that brought the city to life. Universal Studios brought beloved characters like Jill Valentine, Leon S. Kennedy, Claire Redfield, and Nemesis to life, along with other monsters like zombies, lickers, Cerberus, and even a version of Tyrant. One of the most unforgettable moments of the Resident Evil-themed area was when Jill Valentine faced off against a terrifying licker in the middle of the plaza. The licker was designed to perfection, making it look like it had crawled straight out of the game. As longtime fans of the franchise, we unfortunately weren't able to experience the attraction in person. However, with the help of videos and pictures, we were able to get a glimpse of what it would have been like to be there. We'll never forget playing Resident Evil 3 for the first time. The game was both thrilling and terrifying, and we remember being especially scared of Nemesis. So you can imagine our excitement when we saw him brought to life at the park, even though it was also terrifying. Watching Jill battle the licker while chaos and zombies swarmed around the guests was an incredible experience that probably made the visitors feel like they were right in the middle of the game. And as if it wasn't enough, Universal Studios even added a goofy-looking inflatable Cerberus to the mix. It was a fun and lighthearted addition to the experience. Escape from Racoon City. Halloween Horror Nights always brings us the best horror franchises, and the 2013 Horror Nights were no exception. This time, Universal Studios Orlando outdid itself with an incredible Resident Evil maze, Escape from Racoon City. Upon entering the maze, we can see Leon in his iconic RPD uniform, fending off zombies to clear a path for guests. The maze unfolded during the events of Resident Evil 2 and 3, and included a variety of monsters like lickers, Cerberus, and hunters. One of the most thrilling parts of the maze was encountering Nemesis, who was stationed on a rooftop with a giant turret, intimidating guests with his terrifying firepower. We can also see a rather peculiar version of the hunter in this maze, represented with an inflatable suit. In addition to the horrifying monsters, the maze also featured some fun Easter eggs for die-hard fans, such as a typewriter that resembled the one used in the game to save progress, and a freeze-frame moment where Leon appeared, as if the game was paused. Although the pause screen didn't accurately represent the game's mechanics, it was still a cool scene that enhanced the overall experience. Elements such as red, blue, and green herbs, first aid spray, a lighter, a rocket launcher, and the G-Virus sample were also included. Near the end of the maze, guests could see a graffiti reference to Hunk, close to a scene where Jill was fighting off terrifying lickers. This maze was undoubtedly a checklist of fan service for the franchise's enthusiasts, bringing fans closer to the immersive world of Resident Evil. Universal Studios also added a fun and tragic touch to the maze's end, featuring the infamous game over screen text, "You're dead." It served as a chilling reminder of the high stakes and danger inherent to the game's world. Biohazard The Real. Disclaimer, because there has been some confusion in past videos. In this attraction, participants do not die in real life. Going back to 2012 in Japan, they also created an attraction called Biohazard The Real. This was a rather unique experience as it provided an interactive experience where visitors had the opportunity to be part of the action. Upon entering, guests were given a 9mm special pistol that was connected to a device showing the percentage of infection they had. The point of the attraction was to reach the end without turning into a zombie. It sounded simple, but they didn't count on having to face a horde of zombies and only having 30 bullets. So the survival rate was virtually 0%. This attraction plunged spectators directly into the action during the Racoon City outbreak. The pre-show displayed several news reports about the dramatic situation in Racoon City, and even featured a commercial for the weapon and device that would later be assigned to the guests. Once inside the attraction, guests could go through the attraction, attacking and surviving attacks through zombies and lickers, and even having a final encounter against Mr. X. After finishing the attraction, guests could visit the store. There were replicas of weapons, badges, virus samples, and even Leon and Claire's outfits, as well as countless figures, themed t-shirts, and umbrella vests. This was a great attraction, and in 2014, it would come back as Biohazard The Real 2. This was practically the same attraction with a small change. Many guests complained about the limited bullets, which is somewhat ironic since Resident Evil is a survival game. However, the interactive weapon was replaced by an automatic shotgun with infinite bullets. This version is based on Resident Evil 3, and guests began the attraction at the Kendo gun shop. In this version, guests could find bags with first aid kits that helped lower their infection rate. The trailers show a final encounter with the Tyrant R variant. The first person who managed to win the game did so 30 days after the attraction started operating. Of course, this attraction proved to be a success once more. So the following year, the park opened Biohazard The Real 3. This attraction again had a set of changes. For starters, augmented reality goggles were added, introducing new features such as a contamination index, a health bar, and the infinite ammunition was removed as digital items were added for ammunition and life bar. The goggles also showed whether a zombie had managed to harm you. In this new version, different stages were presented depending on the visitor's degree of infection. For example, visitors started at the Kendo gun shop, then moved on to stage 2. At the end of each stage, the participant's health and infection status were checked. If the participant was in good health, they could proceed to stage 3, a train where they had to face an endless number of digital monsters. If the participant didn't have enough energy, they were sent to stage 4, the Umbrella Laboratory, where a horde of zombies would attack them, ending in a game over. The attraction also featured a face-to-face encounter with Nemesis. The survival rate of this attraction during its stay was 0.003%. The first successful run was achieved after 53 days of operation, and in total, only 8 guests survived the experience, who were interviewed at the end. Resident Evil Extreme. We have reached the end of our list, and perhaps one of the best mazes Universal has ever created. In 2019, Resident Evil The Extreme debuted at Universal Studios Japan. This is a 15-minute interactive maze, similar to the real-life Resident Evil, based on the events of Resident Evil 2. Here, guests can potentially lose in the attraction due to time-based puzzle tests and shooting confrontation zones. This maze interestingly offers 2 paths, Leon's and of course, Claire's, just like in Resident Evil 2. The maze begins at the RPD entrance, where you can hear the screams of zombies. An RPD officer joins the group of 10 survivors and acts as a guide. After a brief explanation, guests proceed inside the station where zombies await them. The maze is filled with Easter eggs, such as herbs that could easily be overlooked due to the attraction's intense action. Leon's route starts in a narrow corridor, where all windows are barred with wooden planks, just like in the game's remake, with zombies lurking outside. After traversing the corridor, survivors face the daunting Mr. X peering through the windows, ready to annihilate the guests. Fortunately, Leon arrives, distracts Mr. X with a shot, allowing guests to escape, but they soon find themselves in a dead-end room. Not in his scientist form, but transformed into G. Birkin Phase 1, appears. The guy distracts him while guests move to the cable car. There, with machine guns, they confront a super tyrant on a screen. Suddenly, the lights go out, and a super tyrant in disguise attacks the guests. A researcher rumored to be Annette tells the guests to escape to another cable train, which is also a screen. If the group didn't score enough, the super tyrant causes the train to crash, ending the adventure. Claire's route has certain differences. For instance, it goes through the Star's office, also encounters Mr. X, but on this route, G. Birkin appears in his second form, instead of the cable car scene. Guests are taken directly to the laboratory where they face G. Birkin in his third form. If participants don't score enough, the laboratory explodes and Birkin attacks them, resulting in a game over. This experience seems brutally thrilling and dramatically exciting. This experience returned last year, and we hope that it comes to the US park someday. There are so many more attractions to cover. Leave a comment if you'd like to see part 2 of this video. And don't forget, gamers, our raid link in the description, or the QR code, is your cheat code to some epic bonuses. Let's dive into the world of Raid Shadow Legends together.